This week, we are plunging you into the chaotic and exhilarating heart of the world's busiest railway. 8 million passengers use these trains each day, packed in more tightly than anywhere else on the planet. Welcome to Mumbai.
Behind us is CST, the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus, Mumbai's most important railway station and the heart of the suburban train network, carrying commuters to and from work.
But it's a system under enormous pressure. The Mumbai suburban rail network carries 8 million passengers a day, and on these lines alone, they're expecting a 50% increase over the next 6 years.
So you've got to ask, how will this super-stressed transport hub cope with the demand?
That's what we'll be finding out tonight. Here's what's coming up. We've already witnessed the daily reality of commuting here in Mumbai and discovered how this station links the city to the rest of India. In this final show, it's all about the future. I go on a train that could revolutionize the travel experience here in Mumbai.
Air-conditioned, spacious, I even take a seat.
We reveal how the railways cope with extraordinary challenges, like the annual monsoon floods. I meet one of the heroes of the 2008 terror attacks.
लेकिन एक मन में समाधान के मेरे वजह से यानी मेरे अनाउंसमेंट की वजह से काफी पब्लिक बाहर की तरफ चले गए और पूरा प्लेटफॉर्म खाली हो गया था.
And we examine the efforts being made to change passenger behavior and keep people off the tracks.
It might look funny, it might look rather grotesque, but it does the job.
Welcome to the world's busiest railway.
More than 17 million people live in Mumbai, and every day that figure is going up as economic migrants are leaving rural India to seek their fortunes. It really is the city of dreams.
Well, it might be. The trouble is more people is more problems, certainly for this railway. How can the railway adapt to meet that increased demand? The trouble is it's basically running at capacity already. It's hard to see where the extra passenger seats are going to come from.
We have to remember that these train lines were put in over 100 years ago. I mean, that station was built in 1887. And you might say, well, why don't we just stick in another couple of tracks? But there simply isn't the space.
And don't forget safety. I mean, there are already big question marks about safety on the Indian railways. By adding a lot more capacity to it, is it going to be safety that's compromised?
Well, it's the thing that's on everybody's minds. You talk to anyone about the railways here and they'll say, oh, people hanging out of trains, people crossing the tracks. So you've got to ask, what are the railways up against trying to keep their passengers safe?
The risks of travelling on this network are all too obvious. Overcrowding, open doors, and track crossing create a health and safety nightmare. Standing on a platform in morning rush hour, I'm astonished that regular commuters seem oblivious to the perils. They just don't seem to care.
I've never seen anything like it. I'm worried for your safety. I'm worried for your safety.
I want to find out from Central Railway's Chief Safety Officer, Rahul Jain, if it's as dangerous as it looks.
How many deaths do you have a day?
It's about 5 to 6 death/injuries a day.
5 to 6?
5 to 6 a day.
Fatalities across the whole of Mumbai's suburban lines come to more than 3,000 a year. Over the same period, the London Underground reports fewer than 30. Track crossing is responsible for more than 50% of casualties.
Tell me what the problems are. What are the most dangerous things that people are doing?
You would notice that there are people crossing the track right now. The trains, they roll in at a speed of about 40 to 50 kilometers an hour. And a person who's crossing the track just does not have the kind of perception that it's coming in at that fast. So people do tend to get hit or run over by trains.
It's trespassing and against the law, but it's so widespread it seems difficult to police.
You have got a footbridge here. We're standing on a footbridge, and yet, look, you've got people, old and young. Look at that old woman just walking along the railway. So why aren't people using them?
Probably because they see the train coming in, and they are in a hurry to catch the train, and therefore he takes a chance.
That is just, I've never seen anything like it, apart from in India.
You have to see it to believe it.
You have to see it to believe it, you're absolutely right. And also when a train comes in, people jumping onto the train whilst it's still moving, the doors are wide open.
That's a basic nature. It's nothing unique to India, I suppose. It's a basic human psychology. You see a bus, you'd rather catch it than wait for the next while away 10 minutes.
One way the rail authorities are addressing this risk-taking behaviour is with shock tactics.
We've used a picture of a man in the process of being run over by a train. And this has worked. People, when they're tempted to cross, and if they see that poster, I would say 7 out of 10 pause, evaluate what they are doing, and probably use a foot over bridge. It might look funny, it might look rather grotesque, but it does the job.
The shock is working.
The shock is working.
It's very dramatic.
This poster is featured across the network, and together with more footbridges over the tracks, it's reduced fatalities from 190 a month to 140. But it's clear there's a long way to go to change the behaviour of Mumbai's commuters.
Are you satisfied with the safety as it is?
No, ma'am, I definitely am not. Till you keep on having casualties, I would never be satisfied. But I'm satisfied with the direction that we have taken.
If I come back in 5 years' time, which I probably will I still see people crossing the railway tracks like this?
I wouldn't be able to guarantee that you won't see any, but the numbers would be far, far less. That much I can assure you.
But while Mr. Jain is trying to keep passengers off the lines, one group of safety workers have to risk their lives on them. Every Sunday morning, teams spread out across the network to inspect, repair and replace the tracks. Supervisor R.P. Singh shows me what his teams are up against on these busy routes.
So you've got this track in the middle that's having the sleepers changed, but the track on that side, because there's a train there now, and this track that we're walking on are still live.
Yes, it's very dangerous. So we put speed restrictions on the adjacent tracks.
Despite safety precautions, more than 20 rail workers are killed every year.
The whistle's blowing, there's a green flag flying. We need to get off. Let's stand on this side.
Yes,
30 seconds ago, we were standing right there. Yes, Mr. Singh.
Have a distance.
Let's be safe.
Please have a distance.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yes!
One thing you can observe.
I've never been that close to a train before. That was quite incredible. Terrifying.
You will observe that when train is passing, then also we work. Work never stops. We keep on working,
Yeah.
The sleepers, stone ballast and rails must all be renewed to ensure the safety of the trains running on them. The tiniest crack or flex in a track could cause a derailment. Until recently, this work was done by hand, but this track laying machine works 10 times faster than muscle power alone.
Yes. I think she thinks I'm mad.
These workers are putting down rubber mats to stop the tracks bouncing on the sleepers.
Rajasthan, right. Her husband, her son, her daughter, they all work here. She's called Pangli and she's 35 and she gets paid 250 rupees a day, which is about £2.50. But there is equality. The men and the women get paid the same. Acha hai. Oh, we're on the move now. Ooh. It's going faster than I thought it would. It's actually moving at quite a pace. It's quite a weird sensation. I am being carried. Oh, God. Oh, no, I forgot one. Quick. Too busy talking. I missed it. OK, it's all right. I've got backup. Right, I can't be distracted. I've got a job to do. For a minute, I forgot I was in the middle of 2 live railway lines.
It's a essential to maintain the infrastructure of these lines, not just here in Mumbai, but across all 65,000 kilometres of railway in India. Without the rail network, the country would grind to a halt. This is dangerous, hard, physical work. These men and women are risking their lives to ensure the safety of others.
Constant, reliable services are the name of the game here at CST. Commuters rely on these trains to get to and from work. At peak times, like now, first thing in the morning, 50,000 passengers flood through the station every hour. And the team making sure they get to their offices on time is perched in a tower high above the station.
This is the control room, and these controllers and the technology in this room is responsible for getting all the trains in and out of the station. Now, it's currently just gone 9:30 in the morning, which is one of the busiest periods of the day. It's the morning rush hour, and there are currently over 80 trains in the system going in and out of the station. And you can see that clearly marked up here on this enormous board. Now, each of these red lines you see up on the board here, that represents a train, and the green lines that go in front of them, that represents the route that is planned for them. And there's currently 5 trains in the suburban platforms. I can see that that one coming out of platform 4, that's heading on its way out of the station. It's got a route planned for it ahead of it, and there's another train on the same line about 2 miles out of the station. So they're really tightly packed in. This system is automated, but the controllers are here in case anything goes wrong, which, of course, at this time of day, they're really hoping it doesn't, because it is very busy. But also, it's important to remember that each of those red lines doesn't just represent a train, it also represents thousands of people trying to get to work.
More than half of Mumbai's commuters travel by train each day, with 5.5 million of them buying season tickets. The average journey to work is 45 minutes and costs less than 20 pence. We all tried the experience of travelling in these rush hour trains for ourselves and were shocked at quite how tough it is. But how do you cope when this is your daily reality? Here's what it's like for one commuter.
I am Rita Bhatt, an architect born and brought up in Bombay. Studied in Bombay, worked in Bombay, and now old age in Bombay too. Copy kal se. Acha, nice. I live with 8 members of my family. 2 brothers, my 2 sister-in-laws and kids, and my mom in a 2-bedroom flat. All the best for your exams, huh? Chal, bye. Bye. Chal. Once I bid goodbye to my house, then it's a long walk to the station. Yetta.
Expected on platform number 2 is 9:30.
The next train is at 9:30, so another 4 minutes to wait. I don't like the rush hour trains at all. I always prefer to take the trains after the rush hours.
Urban line से मुंबई छत्रपति शिवाजी टर्मिनस जाने वाली लोकल ट्रेन on platform number 2.
Everybody seems to be competing with each other, all ready with their saris tucked up, their purses tight, and all ready to jump into the train. Me too is part of that. And when the fat ladies try to get inside, they'll be like pushing somebody or the other, and there will be a fight in the train. Half of the time I'm standing, and half of the time I get seats. I've been traveling for more than 30 years by this local train. Earlier it used to be a lot of noisy and a lot of chatting, and these days everybody has a earphone plugged in and they're all into music and the phones or the tabs, so they're all busy with those kind of things. And now the new generation is all in trousers and all the latest dresses. Saris you see very less in the trains. People find it a little difficult to travel in the trains with saris. The train is very busy today. There's some problem, so delayed by 15 minutes or so. The railways are my best friends in Mumbai. They are really my best friends. Because I feel really it's like a small 45-minute home for me. You know, like as if I'm in a theater somewhere and watching everything happening. When I get out of the train, I literally feel like I'm out of a hive. And we are all bees. Ding, we are out of the train. Everybody is in a hurry. They are fast, full speed. They are out of the station. Railways are the lifeline of Mumbai. Bombay is whatever it is because of its beautiful railway lines.
We saw Rita get on a ladies-only carriage there, which is unusual for us, but perfectly normal here. They were introduced just over 20 years ago when the Indian economy opened up, and they were a response to the changing society. More and more women were going out to work, and now 25% of commuters in Mumbai are women, one of whom is Marisha, who works in digital media. Marisha, tell me about your commute. Where do you travel in from?
So I live in Belapur, that's Navi Mumbai, a satellite township outside of Bombay. So it's about an hour and a half and from door to door and 60 minutes in the train.
Now, I've tried getting on one of these trains. It took me a few attempts. It's really tough. What tactics do you employ if you're doing this on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's tough on a daily basis. So, well, I generally have these markers on platforms, so I'll remember the fan or a board or hoarding, and I try and be on the left side and kind of close when the train comes in. I know it's not safe, but that's what you have to do to get in first.
And are you one of these headphones in, head down?
No, absolutely not. And I would tell all my friends and other girls to do it because it's just not safe. In a crowded, nobody's looking out for you. You're going to get your head yanked or your hair pulled or your bag pulled. So no, that's a no-no.
That violent?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody just wants to get onto the train, which is going to leave in the next 30 seconds, so yeah.
So once you're on this train, how do you get a seat?
Okay, so if you're traveling long distance, you really want to sit, so you just go around asking people, where are you getting off? And if they're getting off somewhere close by, next station or 2 stations later, you just say, okay, I'm sitting next. Yeah, you're booking a seat.
Why do you travel in a ladies-only compartment?
That's the safest and that's the most comfortable way of traveling because during peak hours, there are just too many people in that compartment. So it's very uncomfortable being stuck head to toe with a guy. I mean, just a purely physically uncomfortable experience.
Is it socially unacceptable to be that close?
Absolutely, and you wouldn't want to be. I mean, you wouldn't want to be that close to a stranger. Why would you? I mean, even with a woman, it's kind of uncomfortable when you somehow manage, but with a guy, definitely not. And it stinks.
And they stink. Yes, more deodorant. You said that, not me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned safety there. Safety is a concern here. There are posters, I've seen them around the station, telling women it's not a compliment, you're giving me the creeps, don't stay silent. Have you ever been harassed? Or as you euphemistically call it here, Eve teasing?
Yeah, there have been the odd brushes of, you know, like where you get off the train on a crowded platform, you have the brush against your thigh, or somebody tries and, you know, cups you from behind. And a few of my other friends have had that experience too. I mean, it's kind of part of my experience of commuting for the last 5 years.
And why are we hearing so much about it now?
Obviously because people like me who were born in the 21st century, and I feel I'm better than most guys out there because I'm educated and yeah, and I'm earning more than them. So, I mean, I don't think you have the right to do that. I don't have the right to go touch a guy, so why do you think you are entitled to do that?
What would improve your commute?
More trains on these tracks, absolutely. Too many people, too few trains on these tracks.
Marisha, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, more than 600,000 people like Marisha use this station every single day, and it's because of the crucial part it plays in the lives of Mumbaikars that it was the target of a terrorist attack in 2008.
Good evening. There's been a major terrorist attack in the Indian city of Mumbai. As many as 80 people have been killed after teams of heavily armed gunmen stormed different locations, including 2 luxury hotels and the main railway station.
It was around 9:30 when two men from a Pakistani terror group arrived at the station. Local tea seller Mohammed Tawfiq Sheikh got caught up in what happened next.
मैं ये मेडिकल दुकान के बाद मेरा दोस्त है मंजू करके, मैं उससे बात कर रहा था, ऐसे ये बात कर रहा था, टाइम पास कर रहा था। फिर उस दिन देखा मैं कि पटाखा फूट रहा है, तो मैं बोला मंजू इंडिया पाकिस्तान मैच जीत गया है, पटाखा फूट रहा है। फिर देखा थोड़ा आवाज़ बढ़ते जा रही है।
Station announcer Mr. Chendi was coming towards the end of his shift in the control room.
When did you first know that something was going on and an attack was underway?
जहाँ पर मेल एक्सप्रेस गाड़ी चलती है वहाँ पर एक जोर से धमाका हुआ, इसलिए मैं पैसेंजर लोग को उस तरफ न जाते हुए एक नंबर की तरफ से, जब एक नंबर का गेट है वहाँ से बाहर जाने के लिए कहा।
And did you see out these windows all the things happening?
तो मैं जैसे सामने ये जैसा शीशा है सामने देखा, उस वक्त थोड़ा बड़ा शीशा था, पब्लिक दौड़ रही है और उनके कपड़ों पर ऐसा ब्लड के ये थे, तो ये अनाउंसमेंट में लगातार करते रहा। जब मैं देखा कि सामने वहाँ पर एक आतंकवादी सामने बंदूक लेकर आ रहा है अंदर, तो मेरा धड़कन बढ़ गया एकदम, क्योंकि मेरे सामने लोकल आ रही है, उसमें से पब्लिक उतर रही और मेरी धड़कन एकदम तेज हो गई।
Mr. Chendi carried on making urgent announcements, directing passengers away from the gunmen, who were now heading towards Mohammed.
भागो भागो, बम फट रहा है, इधर से भागो उधर से भागो, चिल्ला रहा हूँ। उसके बाद पब्लिक आधे जाते चप्पल वगैरह छोड़ के, बैग भी छोड़ के भागे। थोड़े पब्लिक थे, मेरे को माला टिकट चाहिए।
Mohammed ducked into the ticket office and locked the door, telling the staff to take cover.
बुलेट इधर से आया और यहाँ पे लगा, स्लिप होने के बाद वो गोली सिर्फ तीसरा मारा तो मैं लेट गया और मैंने घर पे फोन लगाया, ऐसा सिचुएशन है, क्या करने का। फिनिश हो गया, मर गया। तो उसने थोड़ा देखा भी आ गया, तो मैं पूरा आँख बंद करके सो गया था।
Mr. Chendi also came face to face with the attackers.
उसने अपने गन में से वो जो गोलियों का ये रहता है वो निकाल के दूसरा लोड किया और उसके बाद फिर से फायरिंग करते करते आगे की तरफ आया और वो लगातार हमारे ऑफिस की तरफ फायरिंग कर रहा था। अंदर की तरफ आए हैं और हमारे दोनों के बीच में केवल 15 फीट का दूरी था, तो ऐसे लगे कि अभी बस हम खत्म, अभी हम लोग का कार्य समाप्त हो गया। लेकिन एक मन में समाधान के मेरे वजह से, यानी मेरे अनाउंसमेंट की वजह से काफ़ी पब्लिक बाहर की तरफ चले गए और पूरा प्लेटफॉर्म खाली हो गया था। ये मुझे थोड़ा सा समाधान था कि मैं जो भी किया है सही किया है और अभी मेरा कुछ भी हो जाए।
But as suddenly as they'd arrived, the gunmen turned and walked away. They left a scene of devastation behind them.
वहाँ पर देखा तो पूरा फर्श पूरा खून से लथपथ था और ये नज़ारा देखकर पूरा रोंगटे खड़े हो गए थे और हम लोग वहाँ ज़्यादा देर रुक नहीं पाए, ये देखकर कि हमें एकदम ये हो रहा था। फिर हम तुरंत अपने ऑफिस में चले आए।
बाहर तो मैं सबसे पहले तो चप्पल निकल के फेंका, खून था पूरा, जैसे खून का पानी धोते कैसा, चप्पल निकल के पहले बाजू में रख दिया और उसके बाद जो जिंदे लोग थे ना उनको पहले से उठाने का, वो मर गए उनको गिनती नहीं करता, जो जिंदे थे जिसका सांस चल रहा था उनको बचाने की कोशिश था। कुछ पार्सल के स्टाफ, कुछ बुकिंग वाले, कुछ टीसी वगैरह, जो कुछ पोर्टर वगैरह बाहर के लोग भी थे। फटाफट बॉडी को लेके जाना, जिन मरे लोग को छोड़ने का, उसको बाद में साफ किया गया।
The killing spree had lasted an hour and a half. It left 52 people dead and more than 100 others seriously wounded, a combination of passengers and railway staff. The scars of those events in 2008 are still visible around the station, but Mumbaiakers like Mr. Chendi take a philosophical view.
लेकिन हम लोग ने, हमें ऐसा लगा था, हम सोचते थे हमें क्या लेना देना है, तो ये मैं उस वक्त से ये तय किया कि हमें ही लेना देना है, हमें ही ले पड़ी है, क्योंकि ये मेरा देश है, मेरे बांधव है, मेरे रिश्तेदार है, इसलिए हमें ही पड़ी है। इसलिए हमने तय किया है कि हम ये छोटे बड़े हादसे जो भी हो उसे इग्नोर नहीं करेंगे, उसे उसकी तरफ हम क्या देखेंगे और उसका आवाज उठाएंगे।
This is the memorial to all those who were killed on that terrible day. It was built in 2009. It's got names of those who died inscribed along the front. It's always spotless. It's always perfectly maintained. sits here in the heart of the station, right in the middle of the concourse, and actually right in the middle of where some of the worst killing actually took place that day. It's a permanent reminder of what went on here, a permanent reminder of those who lost their lives and the suffering of this station and this city as a whole. It's not the only reminder here. There are now X-ray machines and metal detectors at every entrance and exit, and there's a heavy police presence. Heavily armed officers patrol this station 24 hours a day. But what's amazing about Mumbai, very much like London after 7/7, is that the day following those terrible attacks, trains were running normally in and out of this station. There was an absolute determination not to let the terrorists win, to get back on their feet and keep things going as normal. A determination not to be beaten. And actually, that determination is reflected in the history of Indian railways. When engineers and builders first arrived here in India, they were faced with overwhelming challenges in this vast land. And John Sargent has been to see a stretch of track that at the time it was built was nothing less than an engineering miracle.
60 kilometres east of Mumbai is one of India's greatest mountain ranges, the Western Ghats. They form a natural barrier between Mumbai and the south and east of India. Victorian railway engineers had to find a route through the mountains in order to connect Mumbai to the rest of the country. A 21-kilometre section called the Borgat Pass was the hardest challenge. This was the most difficult, the most complicated railway project in the whole of India. To keep the overall length and the number of tunnels down to a minimum, the tracks had to be as steep as possible. The most severe gradient was about 1 in 40. You go along 40 metres and up a metre. And if you got it wrong, the steam engines would simply slide backwards. Even today, parts of the line are so steep that additional engines called bankers have to be attached to each train. These help to push them up the hill. I'm hitching a ride on one of these banker engines with driver Jayant Ramadasi. So why do we need these extra engines?
In case the coupling get break in between. So in the rear part, nobody will be there to control the rear part.
Right, so that would all go, the couplings would break.
Coupling would break, naturally.
So the train would start going backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hello. And there are the mountains here, aren't they?
Yeah, actually, this is Borgat. We are already in the Borgat.
And Borgat is the way through the mountains, isn't it?
Yeah.
It may not look steep, but for trains, these gradients are hard work. That's good.
Actually, we are supposed to press horn while entering every tunnel.
Oh, right.
To warn the staff working there that some train is approaching.
Okay, well, if you tell me, I'll press the horn.
Sure.
All right, when we go to the next tunnel.
Yeah.
Work on this section of line began in 1856. At one point, 42,000 workers were employed here. In less than 10 years, they built 8 huge viaducts, dozens of massive embankments, and 25 tunnels. They hacked out the rock with picks and shovels. It cost, in today's money, more than £100 million. But the cost in human terms was far more than that. More than 25,000 construction workers died here. That's more than 1,000 for every kilometre of track. The loss of life in the building of this engineering marvel, obviously nowadays would be completely unacceptable. But in those days, it was argued, the human cost would be balanced by the enormous practical gain. Now, in our day, the very least we can do is to celebrate their achievement. And this was a great engineering achievement, an astonishing example of determination and skill. This drawing shows where the original tracks used to run. It's a reversing station, an elegant way to get trains round a hairpin bend. A rail historian, Apurva Bahadur, explains how it worked.
This was how it came up from the bottom of the Ghats. It came up here. This is the old route. And it reached here. And there was a big problem.
What was that?
The big problem was that this curvature, because it has to now go in this direction, is too sharp for any train.
So they couldn't go around
here?
here?
It could go around here. So they built a yard down there. And the train would go here, and it would reverse and go along that way, on the other side of the mountain to Khandala.
The train entered the yard on the lower line and then reversed up the upper line, manoeuvring round the corner. Today, with new tunnels and electric trains, they don't need a reversing station. But it's not just getting trains up the incline that's difficult. Getting trains down safely also isn't easy. Brake failure could result in a runaway train. And this safety route, called a catch siding, has always been a crucial part of the line.
So tell me about this catch siding. How did it work?
Okay. So you could imagine the emergency could be of a brake failure, and a train is gathering speed, so it'll come faster and faster down these tracks, and the gradient will arrest any further movement.
It's an incredible hill, though, isn't it? Why is it that? Why is it needed?
It needs that gradient for to break the momentum and come to a stop.
But if it didn't have this, if you didn't have this
catch
catch siding,
then it would go onto the main tracks at a fast speed, possibly derail. A lot of people would be killed.
But how often has it been used?
Almost never. Almost never. Maybe once or twice in its entire history of 165 years.
Really?
And the tracks are busy 24 hours a day.
This line is a crucial one in the history of Indian railways. 30 years after it opened, the network was carrying 500 million passengers and millions of tons of freight. It helped India, and particularly Mumbai, to become the industrial powerhouse it is today.
And that route along the Western Ghats is still essential to this day as it links Mumbai to the south and the east of the country. And this train coming in right now, the 12124 from Pune, has used that route. It's a very special train. It has a very special place in the hearts of people of this city and all train fans, and they affectionately call it the Deccan Queen. One of those train fans is Ashish Kovilkar. Why is the Deccan Queen so special?
It is the most loved trains of Indian Railways, so much so that every year, those who travel regularly, they celebrate his birthday with fan and pomp, and they cut a cake, and they have bands running in the background, and it's a fun atmosphere to celebrate his birthday.
It may look like an ordinary train, which it is, but this 10:25 arrival each morning has a historical significance for rail fans like Ashish.
This train started its operation on June 1st, 1930, and since then it has been running. Earlier, it was meant to be only for Britishers, and it would run on weekends. In 1943, Indians were allowed, and that's where the number of commuters started increasing.
There were so many commuters getting on it from Pune that they actually gave it a special name, didn't they?
Yes. Earlier, it was used to be called as husband special because the men would travel to work to Mumbai and then go back to Pune by this train.
And it's not just husbands now. There are plenty of wives and single people that use this train.
Yes.
Because society changed, didn't it? And the technology changed it. What happened?
Yeah. When the technology changed, earlier the trains used to be run by steam, and they would take about 6 hours to come from Pune to Mumbai. Now this is run by electric trains, electric engines, and as a result, the time has been cut down to only 3 hours 20.
3 hour journey, so more and more people use the train.
Yes.
Do they still use it to commute?
Yes. There are businessmen who travel every day morning, and there are office goers who come for work to Mumbai and then go back to Pune.
And you live in Pune yourself?
Yes, I do.
And how do you get to Mumbai?
Every time I get a chance to travel to Mumbai, there's no alternative but to take the Deccan Queen.
Yeah. And you genuinely love this train. How excited are you that this train is right behind you?
Yeah, I can't express in words. It's really great to travel by the Deccan Queen whenever I get a chance.
And can anybody become a rail fan?
No, it has to be in our blood. You can't convert anybody into rail fan. Rail fans are born.
Rail fans are born. Ashish, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, of course, no train's going anywhere without a driver. Here in India, it's a very prestigious job. Indian Railways employs 90,000 drivers. It's highly skilled and requires years of intensive training. But to Robert, those are just details. Nothing was going to stop him having a go.
I've been having an intensive series of train driving lessons at the Busiest Railway Training Institute. I've got the basics of signalling.
So I'd know if I was coming along, I can keep going there, it's green, yellow, I've got to be careful, get ready to stop, red, stop.
And I've successfully negotiated my first lesson in a simulator.
Now it's moving, you can see.
It's moving!
But now my instructor, Mohammed Itzar, is setting me a test to see if I'm good enough to be let loose on a real locomotive. He retires to a safe distance while I try to remember everything I've been taught.
Okay, right, now, throttle on idle, locomotive brake on, train brake off.
This simulator is letting me experience what it's like to drive a 24-carriage diesel train with 1,500 passengers on board.
Mr. Robert, when I will give you the signal green, then you start your train, okay?
Waiting for a green signal. I have a green signal. I didn't sound the horn. I forgot the horn.
Drivers have to sound their horn as they leave the station to warn passengers on the platform. Failing to do this means I'm already falling short of what's expected.
Increase the speed.
I'm looking for my next signal light. Oh, yeah, there it is. Now it's green. That's good.
As well as watching for hazards ahead and controlling the loco, I've also got dials displaying brake pressure, engine power and speed. All have to be constantly monitored.
I think that is a level crossing coming up.
As if there wasn't enough to worry about, Mohammed decides to introduce the odd hazard.
Oh, there's a cow. Oh, my God, there is a cow. I don't know. There's a cow on the line. What do I do? I can't stop. Go on, you could move. No, it's not going to move. Very distressing.
What you have done, Mr. Robert? You have killed one cow.
I was sounding my horn. If it had any sense, it would have got out of the way.
It might be India's sacred animal, but momentum means these trains can take over a kilometre to stop. By the time a train driver sees a hazard on the track, it's too late to put the brakes on.
Now yellow signal is approaching. You have to reduce your train speed.
I now have to bring this huge train to a halt as we approach the station.
That's a yellow signal there, so I really need to have the brake on now. We're slowing down pretty good.
You have to stop the train on the platform.
I've stopped the train too soon. To actually stop something this big and this heavy at a specific point, like a station, I have already discovered is very difficult.
I'm hoping that Mohammed was impressed with my efforts.
So,
Mr. Robert,
how did I do?
How was the drive?
It was terrifying, but wonderful. It was really exciting.
Did you learn something?
Well, I think I learned how hard it is to drive a train, if nothing else. But what I found hard was to stop at the station.
Stopping
really
is
hard.
difficult.
Yeah.
Because you have to see what is the load,
yes,
how is the gradient,
yeah,
and where you have to stop the train, and what is the speed of the train. And as per that, you have to apply the brakes.
Yeah.
And you have to stop the train on that particular spot before the signal, not after the signal.
No, you're right. So starting a train is very easy.
It's very easy.
Stopping a train, very hard. Yes.
Actually, the loco pilots are paid for stopping the train.
For stopping the
not
train.
Not for driving the train.
I must have done something right, because I've been told to report to the shunting yard. It normally takes more than 7 years of training before drivers are let loose on real locos. But I've been given special permission to have a go.
Oh my God, there it is. It's huge. My first proper Indian diesel locomotive.
This is the Indian-built, diesel-powered, 3,100 horsepower Shakti WDG-3A shunting engine. It's a workhorse of the Indian Railways. Looking after me is Chief Loco Inspector Ramesh Kakade.
Hello, Ramesh.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Are you coming?
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Can I sit down?
You're
Thank
right.
you. Oh,
Yes.
my own train.
Yes.
This is very exciting.
Now to see if I can remember everything Mohammed taught me in the simulator.
So, Ramesh, this is
Right,
throttle.
yes, yes.
So
Open the
one
throttle.
notch. Yeah.
One notch. And release loco brake.
Release loco brake. Oh yeah, we're moving. There we're going.
But once again, I've forgotten something crucial.
Put up horn.
Oh yeah, horn. This one?
Push. Yes. Good. Release.
Take it down.
Yes.
Bit of a tree there.
Again open notch. Open.
One notch.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Good.
Oh, feel that acceleration. Wow. I think I might have done 2 notches.
But in this huge machine, speed is deceptive.
So we're just going, we're going a bit more than 10, yeah. Oh.
Just like in the simulator, there appear to be some hazards on the line.
Good. Oh.
Yes. One notch, yes.
One notch, okay.
Yes.
Give it another notch.
Hello. Other.
Oh. We're basically driving into a wood.
Oh.
We're fast approaching the end of the track, and I'm mindful of Mohammed's advice that good drivers are good at stopping.
So shall I put brakes on now, Ramesh?
Yeah, dynamic brake. Yes.
Ah.
Push.
Push?
Yes.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow.
Good.
Train stop.
Good, yes,
Oh,
yes.
thank
Good
you so
job,
much.
yes.
That was very good, was it? Am I a good driver?
Good
driver?
Good driver. Yes, best driver.
Very good. Best driver. Best driver.
I think it'll be a while before Robert's ready to join the ranks of CST's train drivers. It's just after 11 o'clock here, a pause between the chaos of morning and evening rush hours. But even at this time, it's busy by the standards of other world stations. Since the 1990s, the station has introduced a series of measures to cope with rapidly increasing passenger numbers. This has included so-called double discharge platforms and extending the length of trains. But as more and more people move to Mumbai, the railway's managers are coming up with new ideas to expand capacity and improve the travel experience for commuters.
I'm joined now by Mukesh Nigam, who was the man in charge of this network from 2012 to 2015. Mr. Nigam, you have 1,500 trains. They're currently running to capacity. In the next 6 years, your passengers are going to increase by 50%. How are you going to cope?
It should be possible to run longer trains, and that will kind of account for 33% of additional capacity.
Well, instantly, just by adding more carriages, you can increase by 33%.
Yes.
That's quite a lot.
Yes. The second approach is to augment the infrastructure capacity by adding the lines. The work of 5th and 6th line is already complete by about 60%. And we expect in a couple of years the 5th and 6th line to come right up to CSTM, which will give a major boost for running additional suburban trains as well as long distance trains. Yes.
What about modernising? Any plans?
Yes, there are several schemes of modernization. That's a continuous process. We are also trying to improve our ticket vending system. We have just introduced a mobile ticketing system where it is possible for the suburban commuter to buy his ticket on the mobile.
What about the trains themselves?
Yes, we have plans to modernize the trains, the interiors of the trains. There would be stainless steel bars, and there will be more ergonomical design in the coaches itself. There's also a plan for introduction of AC trains,
air-conditioned.
Air-conditioned trains. That will give a major relief, and that will be in keeping with the metro systems across the globe.
So you'll have to close the doors if you're going to have air-conditioned carriages?
Yes.
How will your travellers here in Mumbai react to that, do you think? Will they be open to that change? Because at the moment they're used to jumping on and off, having the wind blow through their hair.
You know, across the globe, in the suburban networks, the doors are shut. It's just I think that it's just a matter of getting used to, and it's a matter of time. But if you want air conditioning in your coaches, the doors have to be shut.
But if you close the doors, won't that mean you can fit fewer people on your trains? And also, the time it takes to get the trains in and out of the stations will obviously increase.
It's not the numbers. I mean, we have several suburban networks which carry the same number of passengers, but with the doors that are shut. I'm sure with the closure of doors, not only we have additional facilities that are coming, but it may also save some lives.
Do you sometimes feel you're fighting a losing battle here?
No, it is not. I'm sure our commuters will realize that with each passing year, the control of the railways over running of trains is improving.
Mr. Nigam, thank you very much. Now, capacity is just one of the challenges faced here. In the UK, we had an infamous issue with railways unable to cope with leaves on the line. Here, the weather has something far more drastic in its arsenal.
June is the start of Mumbai's monsoon, the annual rainy season. The deluge of water can be catastrophic for this coastal city. Fallen trees, collapsing houses, and landslides are all to be expected, along with cancelled buses and trains. It's disruptive, though not disastrous. But one year, the monsoon crippled the railways and shut the city down. On the afternoon of Tuesday, the 26th of July 2005, almost a metre of rain fell. A year's worth of water in one day. Drains and sewage outlets were blocked with plastic bags and rubbish. The water had nowhere to go. The city and its transport hubs quickly disappeared below flash floods. As water swept up and over the railway tracks, submerging the electrical circuits that control the trains, the authorities were forced to cancel every service. Millions of Mumbaikars couldn't get to work. 150,000 passengers were stranded. No one could get anywhere. Since then, the railways have implemented a package of measures to ensure they can keep the trains operating during the rains. Tonight and every night, a special team of night workers called muck pickers will be out picking litter. This rubbish could block the drains during monsoon. And because the normal electrical signalling systems stop working once the water reaches track level, they've installed axle counters that count the wheels on the trains. This means that the signals can keep on working, and the trains can keep running in up to 10 centimeters of water.
It's clear that the team here at the station are working hard to cope with extreme weather, overcrowding and ever-increasing passenger numbers. New trains and new lines will help, but it's not going to be a quick fix. This place is a victim of its own success. It's been providing an effective service, moving commuters around the city for more than 120 years. But it's running out of space to expand. And that's the same story all over the city. Mumbai is India's honeypot. More billionaires live here than anywhere else in the country. And every day, more people move here hoping to make their fortunes. It's home to more than 17 million people, and counting. The big question for the future is how can the public transport system keep pace with the needs of this growing population? I'm in the northern suburb of Andheri with Shiva Shiraman, Professor of Transport Economics at Mumbai University. He explains that part of the problem is the city's geography.
So here we are in the suburbs. Beyond this, we have the extended suburbs too. And we have a transport system, public transport system, which goes through that, but only in the north-south direction, not necessarily in the east-west, because east-west connections have hardly been developed.
So too many people and the trains are in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Mumbai's main road and rail arteries run north-south, leaving most of the suburbs stranded without east-west connections.
Has there been investment in creating a public transport system here over the last decades?
Virtually nothing. In the past 4 decades, nothing has been done on that front. More roads have been built, and they have catered to the individual vehicles rather than the mass transit moving public.
So, Professor, what is the solution?
I suppose the solution is only to go underground or go over by way of elevated. But then, this is a very expensive solution.
Expensive or not, elevated lines are the plan for the future of Mumbai's railways. And the first new metro line is already in action. I'm joining the passengers here in Andheri to see what it's like. Funded by a public-private partnership, the line runs 11.5 kilometres east to west between Ghatkapar and Versova.
Wow. This is like a different city. Brand new, ultra-modern railway.
But it's come at a price. It was meant to cost £250 million. Construction and regulation delays doubled this to £500 million by the time it opened in 2014.
The platforms themselves couldn't be more different to the suburban railway. There's a yellow line and everyone stands behind it. People get off in an orderly fashion, and then everyone else gets on. Air-conditioned, spacious. I don't get nutted every time I move. Oh, look at these maps. Little maps telling you exactly where you are with little lights that blink on and off. Might even take a seat.
Before the metro, this journey involved heading into the city and back out again, and took over an hour. This more direct route takes just 21 minutes. It costs up to 40 rupees, double the normal train fare. But that hasn't put off close to 300,000 people who use it every day.
Do you like this train?
We feel like we're traveling in a car, not a train.
It's like being a car.
Yeah.
Is it expensive?
No, not that expensive. Normal.
Do you think it should extend much further around Mumbai?
Yeah, of course it should. It should be at least 10 times this.
10 times?
Yeah.
It's actually extremely well kept and clean, and it provides the connectivity we didn't have earlier, the east and west and central.
The government has pledged heavy investment in Mumbai's transport infrastructure, including, despite the expense, 2 more metro lines. But some experts have reservations. Rishi Agarwal is a member of the Mumbai Transport Forum.
We are happy that the metro is coming and a new mass transport option is coming to the city. But you really need to understand that the metro is way too late. I mean, the first plans for metro in Mumbai was in 1940s. And by now, huge amounts of Mumbai is populated. And it's going to be extremely difficult to be able to carry out the construction work. They're saying it will be ready in 5 to 6 years, but it will take a good 10 years before the metro is ready.
So you're saying it's too late, it's too short, and it's too expensive?
Yes, it's extremely expensive. I mean, line 2 and line 3 together will cost almost $15 billion in today's cost.
What can be done in the short term, in the next year or two, to try and sort this out?
We can invest heavily in air-conditioned buses. We already have an existing road network which we're utilizing very inefficiently, and cars are growing like a very rapid rate, because of which our roads are getting choked up. But if we were to introduce thousands of air-conditioned buses on the road and create the necessary political leadership and fund for that, then we will be able to provide an immediate solution to Mumbai.
So that's the immediate solution, but ultimately, is Mumbai always going to be trying to catch up?
I think it is clearly possible to quickly, simultaneously prepare plans for 5 or 6 different things which can help solve Mumbai's problems in a decade. It is the politicians who need to decide to set up the institutions, and institutions like Transport for London, etc., which can plan for the long-term future of Mumbai.
The metro certainly looks like a vision for the future, but we'll have to wait and see if this megacity's transport systems can keep pace with the speed of its expansion.
What Mumbai is dealing with here is all the big issues that are confronting other great cities in the world at the moment. The sort of historic shape of the city makes it difficult to develop. It's an increasing population. It's sort of hard to see where the extra capacity is going to go, what choices they have.
I mean, the bottom line is there's just too many people who want to travel too far, too fast every year.
But the problem that seems special to India is that there doesn't seem to be an integrated transport plan. Let's say, like, London's Crossrail, where they're investing a load of money. Here, everything's a bit piecemeal. You've got a road here, a metro station there, but none of it sort of links up, and you can't ultimately get to where you want to be.
Yeah, but Anita, you mentioned it there. You've got a load of money. I mean, that's the thing. Crossrail's costing 15 billion quid. There just isn't the money to come up with those grand plans.
It's clearly a system that's working at the very edge of what could be considered possible. But what astonishes me is that the people put up with it, that they cram onto these trains every day. I mean, it's just overwhelming, the amount of people that get on the trains.
Well, we have loved our time here, particularly getting to explore that incredible building behind us. Personally, my highlight was getting to travel on a long-distance train.
I think my favourite, I have to say, boyhood dream, actually driving a proper locomotive, 65 tons of power.
Yes, we heard a lot about that. Mine was definitely rush hour. I thought, how bad can it be? I'm a Londoner, I'm used to busy trains, but it was crazy.
We have had an incredible time in Mumbai. Here are some of the highlights.
Over the last 4 shows, we've been lucky enough to explore every inch of this astonishing railway.
Whoa!
We've pulled the levers, pushed the buttons.
What you have done, Mr. Robert? You have killed one cow.
Oh, no!
And really got our hands dirty.
We've been told to go quicker.
Oh, we're on the move now.
We've seen what it takes to keep this place on track and did our best to help.
Oh, I've gone off.
We tackled the hardcore commute.
It's a fight! What is happening?
Experienced the super dense commuter crush.
We're getting on, we're getting on! I made the train!
That is quite unbelievable.
And ploughed through the city's crazy traffic.
This is the worst new road ever.
See, this is a new road.
Sack the road builders.
Along the way, we've learnt quite how much this place means to the people of Mumbai.
ऐसा इतना बोलेगा तो इनका मन का बात कुछ कहने का कोई कम पड़ेगा ये रेलवे को ऐसा रेलवे आदमी का जीवनदान.
It's a symbol for what's most important. The railways are the most important thing to not just the country, but even the city and the functioning of the city.
It has been quite an experience.
It has been such a privilege spending time here and learning how that remarkable station works.
Yes, thank you to Central Railway, our hosts here at the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus, and to all the station staff for sharing their knowledge with us.
And thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
There's a lot more to discover in our India season. We'll take a sneak preview in a moment. Next tonight, from boy band to farmhand, singer Abs knows how to muck in and indeed muck out.